Hi, my name is Tanya and welcome to my small backyard vegetable garden here in central Victoria. Like most of Victoria, we've had a weekend that has been full of rain and very strong wind. I don't have a rain gauge, but I have emptied the big tray I have on my potting bench many times over, and the ground is absolutely sodden. I'd rather not be up here walking around and compacting the ground and the perennial garden bed, but I want to get a few things in the ground because these seed snails, for one, are quite stunted through this cold weather, so I think I may as well get them in the ground. These are turnips I sowed back at the end of April. Now I'm not sure if the turnip is going to turn out, but I will be hopefully able to pick the leaves as another leafy greens. I had wanted to directly sow them into the garden beds, but they weren't filled and ready for planting in, so I thought I'd just take the chance and put some into the seed snails and see if they would germinate. They germinated fine. I'm glad that I have a little bit of space after the drama of the birds snapping off a few of the other things that were in here, and I can give these a trial and see if I can use the leafy greens. Even though it has been a wild weekend, the garden is absolutely loving all the rain. All the soil food has soaked in, and all these plants look as if they've grown over the weekend. The soil is really cold, and I do tend to like to plant seedlings without gloves on, but today is absolutely freezing, so I'm trying to leave them on as much as possible. I have removed some of the straw just so there's not too much dampness up around these small plants. I'll put a little bit back, but not as much as what was on there. They are looking so tiny in here, but hopefully they will get going soon. Even though it has been freezing all weekend, you can really tell through the plants that the daylight hours are getting longer and we are turning back towards warmer weather. All the tiny beetroot I transplanted out of garden bed too is looking so healthy and standing up, so that was a win. I will not be wasting any of the beetroot seedlings in the future. I will always try to transplant them somewhere else if there's too many planted in one spot. These are the mini cauliflowers and they are loving this cooler weather, and the cosmic purple carrots I sowed on the 18th are still covered up. Now it's time to get these leeks in the ground. I think the leeks will be fine. They're pretty hardy. They will be a very welcomed addition to this garden bed. I do have a lot of leeks that have self-sown over in my herb area, but I don't generally use those. I leave them to go into a flower, and I love seeing those, and it brings in the bees. I'm planting these leeks in bunches just as they come out of the seed snail. I'm not too fussed on whether I pick 5 small leeks or 1 huge leek. Doesn't worry me either way. The drainage holes are now all drilled in this tank, and I need to get to you know where and buy some supplies so that I can get the strawberries planted. I am very happy to be getting my rhubarb back into this garden bed. I did wait and make sure all of them are growing. They've got shoots, so it is time to get them back in. The bed is settled after all the rain, and now the hardest thing out of all of this is going to be working out the spacing. I'm trying to stand on the bed least amount possible. I do not want to compact it, but getting them in as soon as I can is what I am keen to do. This one here is well and truly shooting. It has heaps of little leaves coming out. The other one, I wasn't sure if it was going to be shooting, but there is a little pink node on it. The giant Russian rhubarb there at the end, I don't know how big it's meant to get, so I'm sort of just trying to guess what they're going to look like in 3 years' time. This is what I always use in this garden bed, is some upside down large saucers, and I use that to walk along the garden bed when I'm in there picking things or just working. These are the markdown rhubarb that I bought at you know where. They were the red dragon, and I bought 4. One was a bit slimy at the end when I did get it unpacked, but it seems to be shooting a new leaf, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'm putting the oldest ones at either end because they're showing a bit more size. The middle ones are the smaller ones, the red dragon, and then if any of those die, then I can just replant into that space. Hopefully up this end it won't have too much competition, and any water that comes out of the tank the rhubarb will get. I've put the rocks in there, and I'm going to plant up that little space of the garden bed with more garlic that I've got in the basket, and some flowers, and maybe the alpine strawberries. They do not have runners, so they might go in there as well. It is difficult working out the spacing of these and how big they will be in a few years' time, because I do not want to shift them again. It's taken a while to decide and get the garden bed ready, so I want them in and I want them there for at least a few years just to get them established. I'm making sure that I do not plant the crowns too low. If anything, they're sitting a little higher because I do want to add more compost to the top. I'll remove the straw later on and add more compost and then put the straw down again. They are going to have a fair bit of competition here. The box hedge root system is wider than the hedge, and the apple trees, hopefully they don't spread out too far across the top and more go down into the soil because they have a bit of depth there, but they will need plenty of food, these rhubarb, because there is so much around them. Rhubarb would have to be one of my favorite things to grow. I love being able to come out and pick it and make a quick crumble just with a bit of apple, or even on its own. It is delicious and we really enjoy eating it. The root on this one, when I pulled it out, it was right across the top of the ground, and I'm just going to trim them up so that I can easily get it back in the ground. There is still some of the root system from the strawberries that I pulled out, so hopefully they don't take off anymore and the straw and everything will keep them at bay, but all the root system can then rot down and go into the soil. hopefully they will settle in well and take off, and maybe by the end of the warmer weather I will be able to start picking some. There were plenty of worms in this garden bed and a big grub. I just threw it out for the magpies there hanging around. But the poor worms, they are cold and very sleepy, and I hate disturbing them. Hopefully I am not upsetting them too much. And just so I don't have to dig this hole any bigger, I'm just going to trim these roots back just a little bit to get it in the ground. I am going to hold off watering them in because we are forecast to have more rain this week, so I will hold off and see if that eventuates, and if not, I will give them water in. I am going to pick my first purple cauliflower. These were the seedlings I bought marked down, so at this point everything's a bonus. It is not as purple as I thought it would be, but it is only the first one, so I will wait and see what happens with all the others. Either way, growing cauliflower I think is a bonus no matter what color it is, and I am very, very happy to be picking this. It is a decent size with highlights of purple, but it will be delicious. I had thought that I would bake it because I had a bit of leftover white sauce from lasagna, but I decided to make a creamy cauliflower and potato soup. But it is time for me to get packed up and get everything all sorted out and take my cauliflower inside. I'll leave a picture of my soup here at the end.